This is Sean O'Shaughnessy from Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Thank you very much for tuning into this special episode of our podcast. Kevin and I do a Two Tall Guys Talking Sales podcast every week. Every Tuesday we drop this episode. However, this one is a special one because Kevin and I also partner together to do what we call CEO workshops, where we dig into one subject for an hour. We typically do that on slides. We do it on LinkedIn Live. However, we thought we would repurpose it for our fans here on Two Tall Guys Talking Sales podcast so that you can hear it. You can find the episode for LinkedIn Live on the show notes. Please go there, watch the slides, pay attention to the whole thing. Thank you very much for joining us here. In the vast realm of sales management, professionals often focus intensely on their products, their services, and internal metrics. But a pivotal aspect often gets overlooked. Truly understand the client's business. By understanding your client's business, how they make money, how they lose money, the challenges that they are facing, you and your sales team will begin to transform from a vendor to a trusted advisor. So let's dig in and talk about some of the details. Success isn't solely about your product or your service. It's about the offering that fits into the broader context of your client's industry needs and challenges. Just as a doctor wouldn't prescribe medication without a thorough diagnosis, can't speak this morning, I'm sorry, a sales professional shouldn't propose solutions without a deep understanding of the client's business landscape. Similarly, introducing a product or solution without understanding the client's industry can result in discord rather than harmonious integration. Now, understanding an industry doesn't mean a one-time analysis. Industries are like ecosystems. They're dynamic. They evolve, they adapt, and shift from numerous external factors. Consider the technology sector, where a mere 10% leap in innovation can transform market dynamics, make winners out of losers and losers out of winners. Or think about the fashion industry, where a single trend can tilt the scales of demand overnight. Literally, we saw this happen this week. Taylor Swift showed up at a Kansas City football game, and suddenly no one cares about Patrick Mahomes anymore. But now is crazy about a former University of Cincinnati football player that just happens to have a couple dates with Taylor Swift. And maybe it's more serious than that. I don't know. But that revolutionized all of the conversation about NFL, all the conversation about the Kansas City football teams. This is where the value of researching industry trends comes into play. It's not merely about understanding the current status quo, but projecting where the industry might be headed. And this just isn't theoretical knowledge. It's a practical information that can shape strategies, product development, and client interactions. So how do you turn challenges into solutions? Every industry brings with it a set of challenges and opportunities. A sales professional attuned to these shifts is better positioned to help with client needs. For instance, if research indicates a rising trend in remote work in a particular sector due to global pandemic or whatever, a company selling office equipment might pivot to offering home office solutions. But the key here is actionable solutions. It's one thing to identify a trend, and entirely another to devise strategies aligned with it. Balance between identifying problems and offering solution becomes critical. It's not enough to tell your client, I see a shift in your industry. You need to go a step further. I see a shift in your industry, and here's how our product, our company, our service can be tailored to address that shift. Craft solutions that are relevant through your continuous learning about the company. For CEOs, sales managers, company leaders that have tuned into this webinar or the recording of this webinar, the message is clear. Equip your sales teams with the tools, the skills, the research, and the understanding and industry trends continuously. Encourage attendance at industry conferences, subscription to relevant journals, training sessions that dive into deep market analysis, even the local newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, for national news. Remember, businesses don't operate in a vacuum. A change in one sector can ripple into another. By ensuring your sales teams are not only aware of their immediate industry, but also the broader market context, you position them, and by extension, your business, as knowledgeable, relevant, and adaptive. You need to understand your client's business goes beyond the immediate transaction. It's about forging long-term relationships, being seen as a partner rather than a vendor. When you show a client that you genuinely understand their industry's nuances, their trends, the future trajectory of their industry and what's going on in their market, you're sending a powerful message. It says, we are in this together. As your industry evolves, we as your partner will evolve with you, offering solutions every step of the way. In every shifting business, let deep research and understanding be your compass, guiding you towards success, relevance, and lasting partnerships. The industries of sales extend far beyond product knowledge and persuasive tactics. In the theory of best business relationships, understand your audience, the decision makers, is crucial. To employ an analogy from the world of archery, even the most skilled archer cannot hit the target that they cannot see. In the landscape of sales, identifying and understanding these key decision makers is akin to knowing precisely where to aim your arrow for maximum impact. So let's discuss the labyrinth of corporate decision making. Modern corporations, especially large ones, are not monolithic entities where decisions stem from a single source. They are multifaceted with various stakeholders wielding varying degrees of influence. So let's imagine a bustling city with multiple power centers. And I realize some of you that are listening to this broadcast may actually sell to cities as part of your business model. But while the mayor might be the most prominent figure, there are numerous other influencers in that city, like business leaders, community organizers, policy advisors. Similarly, in a corporate setting, while the CEO holds significant sway, there are pivotal figures like department heads, procurement officers, and sometimes external consultants like Kevin and I. Consider this. A report suggested that in larger enterprises, an average of 7 to 8 individuals are involved in the buying decision. That is 7 to 8 different perspectives, different priorities, and different criteria. So it's not merely about impressing one person, but navigating an intricate web of decision makers. I would take this matrix of decision makers even farther than that study would suggest. For massive deals that are game changers to your company and the financial rewards that can happen for an individual salesperson for a massive deal, I suggest that there could be 25 or more people that will affect a corporate buying decision, especially if it's big, if it's significant, if it's 20, 30% of a salesperson's quota. That is why I introduced the Power Matrix in my book, The Eliminate Your Competition. It is a very effective tool to understand the various influences in a large scale offering or sale. Because you need to have quantifiable advantage in your targeting. It is essential to identify individuals that are making decisions. Let's dive into some numbers to make the abstract a little bit more concrete. Let's say you're cold calling your company without understanding its decision-making hierarchy. If you met randomly with targeted individuals, assuming a large organization of, let's say, 100 people, you'd have 7 to 8% chance of addressing the right people. Well, hopefully, those people would guide you to the right people. However, by precisely identifying these stakeholders, you boost your effectiveness by more than 90%. In terms of effort, time, resources, the difference is staggering. In fact, it could be the difference between winning and losing the deal. But the challenge is in the quest for this. Identifying these decision makers is not without its challenges. Company hierarchies are evolving, and the rise of flatter organization structures and collaborative decision making, the power centers are more distributed than ever. Furthermore, not all decision makers are possibly to see, or they're not visible to the person on the outside. Most might not hold significant titles that allows you to find them, but they might wield considerable influence behind the scenes. So how do you navigate this complex terrain? What's your path? Here's some practical advice. So first of all, you need to do a lot of industry research on all of the companies that you're talking to. Understand the typical organization structure of the industry you're talking. For instance, a tech startup will have a different decision-making dynamic compared to an established manufacturing firm. or a bank or an insurance company. You need to engage with frontline contacts as you meet them. People at the front line, like managers and executives, often have insights into the internal decision-making process. Building relationships can make it invaluable intel for figuring out who you should address. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you to also leverage LinkedIn, the very platform that you're watching this on. Trade shows are also good, but LinkedIn is just amazing. It's a treasure trove of information. It goes beyond titles. You can get insights into individuals' influences by their endorsements, who they're connected to, in other words, their network, the content they share, who likes it, who comments on it. All of those are hints as to who's powerful in the organization. But trade shows, don't eliminate those, even though we couldn't do those during COVID, are fantastic. They are great places to meet people and understand what's going on. Because trade shows and webinars and conferences aren't just about showcasing your products. They are networking gold mines, providing opportunities to meet and understand the movers and the shakers of an industry. Worst case, just ask. Sometimes the direct approach is the most effective. In initial meetings, it's perfectly valid to say who else is involved in this decision. This is not only to provide clarity to you, but also showcases your intent to address everybody that's important and all the concerned parties. The final aim is tailored engagements. For CEOs, sales managers, and professionals tuned in, understand that every decision maker has their perspective and priorities is crucial, and their priorities are crucial. By identifying these individuals, you can tailor your pitches and presentations to address their specific concerns. The finance head will have different priorities than the CTO will. By targeting your message, you're not just shooting arrows in the dark like that example I gave a little bit earlier. You're aiming with precision, enhancing the chances of hitting the bullseye. Knowing your audience is half the battle. Equip yourself with knowledge of who holds the strings of decision-making in your companies and your prospects. This isn't just about increasing sales. It's about forging meaningful relationships, ensuring that your product or your service resonates with those who matter, and positioning yourself as a knowledgeable and strategic partner in the eyes of your client. Aim with precision, and success will follow. This pursuit of sales is analogous to the art of tailoring. Many of you may not have ever been to a tailor, but imagine a master tailor. You've seen them on TV, you've seen them in movies. A master tailor that really is attentive to this measuring and understands the preference of the client, the occasion they're dressing for. In the movies that I watch, they're trying to hide a gun. That's what James Bond's always trying to do. He's trying to hide his gun and all the rest, right? But it fits like a glove even with it there. The elite salesperson doesn't just peddle a generic solution. They meticulously understand the customer's goals and tailor their solution to fit seamlessly with those objectives. Here lies yes, Kevin.
Hey, a quick question here received on text. How deep do you go on tailoring the message when you're talking about a casual user from your power matrix?
So I'm going to kind of unbundle that question a little bit. So if it's a casual person, so that's my struggle here is what does this casual mean? But so if it's a casual relationship, if you're just talking to somebody, then obviously you need to be relevant to the company that you are talking to, right? So if you were talking to a manufacturer versus a startup, as I kind of stated earlier, you would casually talk about that differently, and you'd tailor your message significantly different. Your presentations, though, have to be rock solid. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, but your presentations have to be rock solid. And the information that you deliver to a client has to be rock solid and timely. So understanding how your company does business or how your prospect does business is very important to that, and tailoring that message that is going to be read by others that aren't in your presentation. So we have to understand that even though we want to know everybody in the organization, that we want to know everybody that we sell to, the things that we deliver to that company are going to be spread to others that potentially weren't in the presentation, which is why, I don't really talk about this presentation, but I always tell people, don't send your PowerPoint as a PDF to everybody, because The challenge of them trying to understand a PowerPoint, like I just have 4 bullets on this slide, trying to understand what I was trying to say, that's the challenge, and they may not get it. So what you want to do is when somebody actually says, hey, I want something, or you're delivering information to them that's going to exist beyond that presentation, you need to make sure that it's standalone and it's succinct and it kind of addresses the company that you're dealing with. And taking the extra time to tailor it just makes a lot of sense. Did that kind of answer the question, Kevin?
It did. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm kind of jump ahead a little bit here, but so it's imperative that you understand your customer goals. To lay that foundation premise, let's understand why this alignment with customer goals is paramount. Businesses operate in an environment of constant evolution with dynamic objectives based on market conditions, competitive pressures, internal growth. In this whirlpool of objectives, companies are constantly seeking solutions, partnerships, and products that drive them closer to their envisioned milestones. By quantifying the scenario, consider a study which revealed that solutions aligned with the company's specific goals were 60% more likely to be considered than generic solutions. Let's say that again. 60% more likely to be considered if they are tailored. So, Kevin, that message that you kind of said earlier, or that question that you said earlier, if it's just a casual conversation, then maybe you don't need to tailor it too much. But if you believe that that casual conversation is going to be driving to a bigger conversation and driving to or more people hearing about it, then yeah, you should spend the time and figure it out in advance if you possibly can, what it's going to be and how it's going to be tailored to that customer. Because once again, the studies have shown that it's just more effective. So it's not just a preference, it's a decision inclined towards solutions that resonate with the firm's ambitions. But you have to understand that goals are multidimensional. They're not monolithic. They have depth, they have nuance, they have multiple dimensions. For instance, let's just use a real world example. For instance, you may have read on an annual report that the company wants to do a 10% increase next year, next fiscal year, next fiscal quarter, whatever the case may be. Underlying this numeric objective, which is great to have, you have a 10% increase in their market share. Great. But what about how are other groups going to use this? Are they going to enhance their brand perception? Are they going to enter new demographics, new customers, new geographies? Are they just going to spend more time on customer loyalty? What does that really mean? And how are they going to get that 10%? And that lies the challenge. These goals, especially like less overt ones, aren't always laid out in black and white. They require discernment and astute observation. And sometimes you just have to read between the lines. Moreover, different stakeholders may have varying objectives. So to achieve that 10% growth, the CEO might be focused on shareholder value. And that's the reason he did that. That's the reason he made that statement. But the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, well, they're worried about brand positioning. And the COO, well, maybe they're worried about operational efficiency. The solution you offer can touch on a variety of aspects and facets of the organization. And hence, understand the matrix of goals becomes essential. Excuse me. How does this go about this? How do you do this? What's the secret sauce here? I'll try to do this on every one of my slides this morning. You want to engage in comprehensive consultations. The first step is to always listen. Initial consultations with potential clients should be as much about understanding them as it is about presenting your offerings. You need to do holistic research on the companies that you want to sell big deals to. You need to dive deep into their company reports, their press releases, their annual reports, their 10Ks, and any other industry publications that are talking about their industry. These can be invaluable insights into a company's forward-facing goals. And you need to engage with multiple stakeholders in your client. This is where understanding the earlier point about decision makers dovetails into this decision. This is where the power matrix that I described earlier really comes into play. Engage with various stakeholders to get a panoramic view of the company's objectives. Remember, everybody has their own objective that is tied to the company objective. So you need to be able to dive those in. After any initial pitch or consultation, you need to get some feedback. Often the objections, concerns, or points of emphasis can be reverse engineered to glean insights about a company priority. Importantly, understanding clients' goals isn't a one-off activity. I'm going to say that again. Understanding the goals is not a one-off activity. As I said before, goals evolve. Stay engaged, ensure that your solutions evolve with them, and stay together. Now, let's bring it all together. Tailored presentation. You got this armed with all these insights. The presentation then becomes an exercise in alignment. It's about showcasing how your solution is not just solving a problem, but how it dovetails with the company's goals and its aspirations. How it's the catalyst that propels them closer to their envisioned future. In sales, this approach is transformative. It positions you not as a vendor, but as a strategic partner. Sometimes the one who understands the intricacies of the client's business, their dreams, their aspirations, and their challenges is the one that wins. In fact, I would say most of the time, the closer you get to your customer, the better off you are. In the grand tapestry of business relationships, understand that aligning with the customer goals is the thread that binds the solutions to the needs, aspirations to outcomes. For CEOs and sales managers and professionals watching this webinar that are invested in the art of selling, remember the best tailor doesn't craft a suit. They craft an experience, a feeling, a perfect fit. Aim to be that tailor in your sales processes.
Sean, quick shout out from the crowd here. Deb commented that her own IT services selling successes and listening to align my delivery with what matters to stakeholders has really punctuated her success. So very affirming words and comments from additional industries about the value of tailoring.
Awesome. That's great to know. And Deb, thanks for being on. I think if I remember right, you're in Boston or New York. I think it's Boston area. So thank you.
Yes.
Boston. Great. So thanks for being on. The map that I show a little bit, it's going to be a little bit, maybe I should use a Boston map, but I didn't. I did a Cincinnati map in a slide in a few slides from now. And it's just to remind Kevin where he belongs instead of St. Louis. So let's talk about the chessboard. I put a chessboard up here for a reason, because chessboard is about predicting the next move. Where are you going to do? You're not worried about the move that you're doing right now. You're worried about 5, 10, 20 moves ahead. And I'll be honest, when I play chess, I'm worried about the move that I'm doing right now. And I don't think ahead. I'm not that good. But in a grand chessboard, a grand master in chess, each company is a player, making moves, countering threats, seeking dominance. Each piece represents a facet of business strategy. Among the most influential of these are pieces that talk about competitive relationships. For a sales professional, recognizing client interactions with competitors not only provides a tactical advantage, but reshapes the narrative of their pitch. It ensures the solution offered isn't just relevant, but impeccably timed and positioned. And this is what I was talking about earlier about the timing and when do you deliver this information. Let's set up a simple situation in the competitive landscape. Company A is a prospective client. They have recently switched from a competitor solution because they weren't satisfied. Now, if your solution that you're offering is similar to your competitor, immediately, regardless of how good your product is and what the merits of your offering is, there's a predisposed bias that you'll have to overcome because you're just like the other guy. On the other hand, if you're aware of this shift, if you're aware that they're not happy with your competitors very close to the way you offer their product as well, you can contrast your solution's advantages over the competitor and gain immediate gravitas as you start delivering that information. Statistics offer revealing perspective on this. Research has shown that companies are more likely to consider a sales pitch that directly addresses and counters a competitor. That's interesting, isn't it? Let me think about that. Directly addressing a competitor and how you're better than that competitor actually gets you more close to an order. This is more of a technique, but it is also an imperative. Competitive relationships are Competitive relationships are changing. Understanding the competitive relationship isn't straightforward. Companies don't necessarily advertise their affiliations. They're upset with and discontent with a competitor. Moreover, these relationships are fluid, shaped by market dynamics, evolving needs, and shifting strategies. Treading this landscape requires tact, discretion, and astute observation. To navigate the maze or the chessboard of this competitive terrain, let's consider several things. Start with a macro view of the industry. Understand the major players in your industry and their relationship. Who partners with who? Or maybe it's who partners with whom? Who competes against whom? And what are their alliances, their mergers, and the acquisitions that might be on the horizon? Through conversations, especially with longer-term clients, you can gain some insights. Phrases like, we used to work with, or our previous provider was. And those offer golden nuggets of information. You just need to dig into those, and your salespeople need to dig into those and document those, that, hey, they used to work with ABC company, or they used to get this from another company. Why is it a used to? Why is it a past tense? Encourage feedback during and after your product presentations. If a prospective client contrasts your offering with another, it's a clear indicator of their competitive engagements and who they're talking to. Let me give you a quick example of that. They ask a question about, why are you different than MongoDB? Or why are you different than Oracle database? Or why are you different than IBM database? Because nobody ever got fired from IBM. Well, just by asking the question, you know that they're at least talking to Mongo or Snowflake or whoever the case was. You need to join industry forums as well. Subscribe to trade magazines, attend conferences. These can be treasure troves of information about shifting alliances and competitive dynamics. Always remember, and Deb, you'll appreciate this, the technology is your friend. Deb is in the technology world. Tools like CRM, competitor analysis platforms, and even social listening skills and tools can provide insights into a company's competitive engagements. Who did your best prospect at that company? Who are they connected to? Are they connected to your competitor? Well, you can figure that out. It's not hard. You can figure that out, especially if you are using LinkedIn the right way. With these insights at your disposal, your pitch evolves and begins to become a competitive advantage. You no longer are merely presenting a solution. You're positioning yourself in a landscape, contrasting it against alternatives and showcasing its unique value proposition. This isn't just about being different. It's about being better. It's about being more aligned and more timely. For instance, perhaps you are a managed services provider that provides technical services to your clients. Understanding that a client faced scalability issues with a competitor solution allows you to talk about scalability as a feature in your presentation. It demonstrates attentiveness and positions your offering as the logical next step in their growth journey. So let's return to our chessboard analogy. Understanding competitive relationships is akin to predicting your opponent's next move. That thing that I can't do in chess, I can definitely do in sales. It lends your strategy foresight, precision, and adaptability. If you're a CEO listening to this, or a sales manager, or a sales professional, this isn't just about selling a product or a service. It's about carving a niche, establishing trust, ensuring that when a client thinks of a solution, your offering stands out, not just as an alternative, but as the best choice. In this dynamic landscape of business, where relationships ebb and flow and loyalties shift and people change job, and understanding the competitive landscape is just good practice. It's essential. The sales professional who masters this will not only navigate the complexities of the market, but will lead, innovate, and redefine it. In the complex world of B2B sales, knowledge is your most valuable asset. You're not just selling a product or a service. You're selling a solution to a client's multifaceted problem. The pivotal shift from being a vendor to being a trusted advisor largely depends on your ability to align what you offer with that ever-evolving needs of your client. This requires an unyielding commitment to staying updated about various aspects of your client's business. You should be monitoring client news, quarterly reports, leadership changes, even social media updates. Think about it. Would you rather have a consultant who simply knows your industry, or one who comprehends the shifting dynamics of the one who comprehends the shifting dynamics of your company. A trusted advisor recognizes that an effective sales strategy is not static, it's dynamic and adaptable, attuned to the fluctuations in the client's operating environment. The challenge is transformation information into insights. The digital age has made it easier than ever to access information, but not all that data is useful. The challenge lies in sifting through that torrent of information to gain insights that are actionable. So you should follow your clients on professional networks like LinkedIn. You should subscribe to industry newsletters or set up Google Alerts for the company and key personnel within the company. If you're not familiar with Google Alerts, we've talked about it before. I'm happy to help you if you want to reach out. You need to do whatever it takes to stay in the loop. However you go about getting data collection, integrating this data into your CRM system, and training your sales team to interpret this information in a way that aligns with your sales methodologies is so important. Are there industry awards that your client has won? It's an excellent opportunity to discuss how your product or service could help them build upon the success. Has their leadership changed? Understanding who that new executive is, what is the strategy, and tailoring your presentation, your pitch accordingly just makes sense. By converting raw data into actual insights, you're proving that you don't just understand your client's business. You understand what's crucial to them today, right now, as they're going to work today. While understanding your client's business is crucial, the power of timeliness cannot be understated. And I was alluding to this a little bit earlier during Kevin's question. Being up to date on the client's current challenges or triumphs allows you to craft a sales pitch that's not just relevant, but it's also timely. Your client's needs yesterday may not be their needs tomorrow. If you are not up to date, your sales pitch, no matter how well crafted you did it, will miss the mark. You must think of this as aligning the temporal context of your client with the sales strategy. So how do you make this actionable? How do you do this? Consider incorporating a current insights section into your sales meetings, where the latest information about key clients is discussed, strategized upon, and reflected upon. Ensure that this data is accessible by your entire sales team. Ideally, it should be integrated in the tools that they use daily, like their CRM system. And remember, information is only useful if it's employed effectively. You need to build your credibility through actionable intelligence. Your information is not just behind the scenes strategy. It should be visible to your clients. And how you use that information should be incredibly visible to your clients. When you engage with clients, you should drop hints that they're not aware that they told you. In other words, you should drop hints about their current challenges or their recent accomplishments. You should show that you paid attention to their awards. You should be the first one to tell them, hey, did you see you guys won an award at the whatever banquet? And he goes, I don't know. I never saw that. You can tactically insert this information into conversations, creating a narrative that only acknowledges their current situation, but also presents your product, your service as the solution they didn't know that they needed. To make this actionable before every client meeting or pitch, review the latest data on the company. Never go into a meeting without checking out their website, reading about them in the Wall Street Journal if they're a big company. Just understand what's going on in their world. Frame your presentation or talking points around that information. Be able to discuss recent events or shifts in the business that will underscore your role as a trusted advisor, not a vendor. Ask yourself, are you generally staying abreast of your client's dynamic business environment, or are you stuck providing static solutions to dynamic problems? Be aware of client news and updates. It's not a one-off task. It's an ongoing commitment. You need to continually align your sales strategy with the current context of your client and what they're going through. You elevate yourself from a vendor to a partner. In the B2B sales arena, that's the gold standard of customer relationships. The same way you would approach a Fortune 500 company? Probably not. The question then becomes, how well do you know your client's financial position? You need to drive your understanding by rereading between the financial lines. Acquiring information about a public company is a piece of cake. Public companies disclose a considerable amount of financial data: quarterly reports, earnings, calls, investor relations publications, interviews, all the rest. Public companies are easy to get information. Private companies, not so good. They may not offer as much transparent data, but industry reports, benchmarking tools can provide broad understanding of what's going on. These data points should not merely be read, but they need to be interpreted. Is the company investing in new technologies or markets? Has there been a recent downturn in revenue? Are these insights valuable to your sales strategies? I challenge every sales manager out there. When was the last time you had your CFO talk about money, talk about how to read an annual report, talk about how to interpret an annual report to your sales team? You need to do this because you need to take this to the next level by integrating these financial indicators into your CRM system. This ensures that valuable information isn't confined to mere numbers, but is actually translated into actual insights by your sales team. Armed with financial knowledge, your sales strategies can be more targeted. If a client has recently posted high profits and is in an expansion phase, you might opt for a more aggressive approach. Maybe you raise your price, showcasing how your product can accelerate revenue and accelerate their growth. Conversely, if a client is having fiscal challenges, maybe a toned down approach makes more sense. Maybe a cost savings conversation makes more sense. Maybe talking more about value as opposed to less about growth makes more sense. But to implement all of these effectively, you need to capture the information and you need to make it shared among your sales teams. And I suggest you do that with your CRM. Most CRMs on the market today, every CRM that I will recommend to a client has tags in it. You should tag your companies, tag your prospects with high growth or stable or cost sensitive or having financial problems or did a layoff or whatever. They could be valuable markers for your sales team, guiding them how to approach each client based on their fiscal position. The consultative angle is really important in this. When you approach a client with an understanding of their financial health, you are better positioned to offer them a solution that fits their budgetary constraints. It's about speaking their language, understanding their limitations, offering them a solution that is not just operationally sound, but fiscally responsible. You should utilize your financial information to craft customized offerings. Once again, I go back to that question that Kevin asked me earlier. You may not be able to do that on a casual conversation, but definitely something that's going to be presented, that's going to be held and potentially passed around. You need to take this into effect. Create multiple package options with varied price models. This gives them flexibility to tailor the proposal in real time during negotiations, making it highly likely that you'll hit the mark in addressing a customer's fiscal constraints and needs. Often, operational goals are closely tied to financial capabilities. Therefore, understanding the fiscal state of a client is crucial for aligning your product or your service with both their operational and financial objectives. It's a dual alignment that few vendors manage effectively, but is the hallmark of a trusted advisor. To make this actionable, let's talk about something. If you're a CEO, if you're a sales manager, ensure that your sales team is trained to discuss not just the operational things about your products and your services, but the financial benefit of your offering. Make sure that they can be comfortable talking about ROI, cost savings, and long-term financial value. If you don't have somebody internally in your company, there's people outside your company that can give them that knowledge, but they need to talk about it. You're doing a transaction with that company. You're selling them a product. You're selling them a service, but you want it to be more. You want it to be closer to the needs of that customer. And your CFO actually may be a great resource for teaching that. So how deeply do you dive into a client's financial health to adapt your strategy and strategic edge? By recognizing the fiscal knowledge as an indispensable layer to your understanding of your client's business, you separate yourself from the average salesperson. Align your offerings not just by operational needs, but also with financial capacity. Transform yourself from being a vendor to being a strategic partner. This is the crux of solution selling and consultative selling, offering you a competitive advantage that's hard to rival. Traditionally, Sales professionals and sales amateurs invest the majority of their time and effort building relationships with procurement. It's easy to do. It's fun to do. It's the guy that's writing, giving you the purchase order. And the significance of that can't be understated. A sales strategy, though focused exclusively on procurement, is very narrow-sighted. It's myopic in view and restricts your understanding of your client's business to the vantage point of a single department. Sales pros that are really trying to become trusted advisors must aim for a more holistic engagement. Establish relationships across the organization, from senior management to the operations team. It's crucial for a nuanced understanding of the client's challenges, motivations, and aspirations that we talked about earlier. How would your sales strategy change if you had insights not just from procurement, but also from the C-suite, from operations, or maybe even end users? Extending your circle of influence by creating connections beyond procurement means building an extended network within the client's organization. Executives are concerned with strategy, long-term goals. Operations are focused on efficiency and daily challenges. End users provide the most direct feedback on how your product or service is going to be used. A consultative sales approach aims to absorb all of these perspectives, creating a multidimensional view of the client's business needs, and therefore allowing you to adapt your presentation, your proposal to those needs. In practice, this means you must have more than one touch point. You need to schedule informational conversations with department heads for your best clients or your targeted clients. You need to participate or lead educational webinars that can attract a diverse internal audience. Use these platforms to collect varied insights into what's going on in your company, and they will help your sales strategy. The breadth of your relationship within the client's organization will naturally lead to a more tailored and compelling sales pitch. Instead of a generic pitch that was specifically at procurement, like pricing and delivery timelines and return policies and whatever, your proposition can address challenges and needs that resonate across all departments. So even if you are presenting your presentation to procurement, to purchasing, you can actually send that information across all the departments, and they will understand it. They will see value out of it. To achieve this, modify your sales collateral and your presentations to points that speak to different departments that you can address. This isn't a matter of changing a few slides in a presentation. It's about restructuring your narrative to incorporate multiple perspectives, creating a sales pitch that is universally compelling. Interdepartmental relationships also play a vital role in the post-sales engagement and ensure long-term client health. Knowing who the decision makers are, the influencers, that can help you navigate changes and challenges that they have and opportunities much more effective. If an issue arises, a broad network ensures that you can quickly identify the right people to engage with. So if you have a problem, you are now a proactive problem solver, as opposed to somebody that's waiting for them to call and complain. So how do you plan to maintain these relationships after the sale? Regular check-ins, customized reports, annual QBRs, quarterly QBRs, quarterly business reviews, where you sit down with the client and you say, how are we doing? And how are you doing? How can I do better? How can you do better for me? How can you cut costs out of my process as well? They're vital tactics to consider if you want to be close to your client. In a consultative approach, the sales professional assumes the role of a trusted advisor. It's what you have to get to. It's what you have to be. You don't get there by saying, I want to be. You get there by acting the act and doing the deed. This role is substantially strengthened by your ability to engage in meaningful conversations with diverse stakeholders, provide valuable propositions that transcend department silos. You become not just a vendor. You become a strategic partner, capable of understanding and solving complex challenges. To operationalize this, if you're a CEO or sales manager, use your CRM to keep meticulous notes on the interests, challenges, and KPIs that are relevant to each department for your prospect. Make this part of your regular sales review meetings. ensuring that the entire team that's going after this account is aligned with this multi-pronged approach. The essence of your client's business lies in the depth of your engagement and beyond just the transactional relationship, the doing of the purchase order. Sales professionals who have successfully expanded their circle of influence beyond procurement and the immediate transaction that's in front of them are much better equipped to deliver solutions that resonate across the client's organization. Your proposition becomes not just a response to an RFP, but a comprehensive strategy of partnership. This is a pinnacle of consultative selling, where relationships are nurtured, challenges are comprehensively understood, and solutions are holistically delivered. Aim to expand your circle of influence, and the dividend it pays are both immediate and they're long-lasting. Once again, I return you to the power matrix that I showed earlier. This is a tool that effectively allows you to map out the various people and departments in different roles. I discuss it in a great deal in my book. I didn't put the picture of my book up. But you can also reach out to me, and I'll be happy to describe how to be successful by using this tool. So I told you before I was going to show a map of Cincinnati so that Kevin, who's traveling to St. Louis right now, can feel a little homesick. But I talked about this because it's about the customer map, or the mapping of the customer journey. A fundamental principle in achieving sales excellence is going beyond just understanding the client's business. It involves not just recognizing your client does, but internalizing their challenges, their motivations, their aspirations. To deepen this understanding, one highly effective strategy is to use a customer journey. Doing so provides comprehensive 360-degree understanding of the client interactions, allowing for streamlined and focused sales processes that speaks directly to the client's needs. Have you ever thought about the different stages a client goes through before, during, and after they engage with you and buy your product or your service? The customer journey map is a visual or conceptual representation of all of the steps that a customer has to go through engaging with your company. It outlines the customer's perspective from initial contact, the process of engagement, to a long-term relationship. By mapping this journey, you gain insights into a client's motivations at each stage, providing a golden opportunity to tailor and customize your sales strategy accordingly. In practical terms, create a collaborative environment where key stakeholders in your sales and customer service departments can contribute their observations and experiences. Employ the use of customer data and analytics to substantiate these experiences. The aim is to bring to light various points at which your sales team interacts with the client and potential avenues for enhancing those interactions. A customer journey map, if you've never seen one, never worked with one, reach out to Kevin or I. We're happy to help you figure this out. A customer journey map is incomplete without identifying various touch points where interaction occurs, as these are key to elevating your sales message. These could range from initial cold call or email to subsequent follow-ups, presentations, contract negotiations, after-sales service appointments. Recognize these touch points enables you to refine your sales message. Instead of one-size-fits-all approach, your sales team can now deliver customized messages suited to the client's needs at each specific point in their journey with you. So how does each touch point currently align with your overarching sales message? What are your gaps? How can they be addressed to better resonate with your client's expectations? Synchronize your sales process with the customer journey. You integrate into a deep understanding of the client at every stage of your sales file. This alignment leads to a consultative selling approach, one that evolves from being transactional to being deeply relational. Here, you're not merely solving a problem. You've ingrained the client's long-term vision. Once again, I'm going to operationalize this for you. It's essential to frequently revisit the customer journey map, make adjustments based on continuous feedback and evolving client interactions and needs. Make this an agenda item for your periodic sales meetings, your opportunities to have conversations about your accounts with your reps. Understanding that journey, that customer journey, identifying all the touch points that have a profound impact on your relationship with clients. It shows that you not merely understand their needs from a product standpoint, but you're interested in a long-term success. This deep understanding marks the transition from being a vendor, which is fine, to becoming a trusted advisor and solidifying your business relationship with that company. Once again, this consultative approach allows you to proactively anticipate the client's needs, potential challenges, effectively positioning your service, your product, your company as a solution to their problems, a strategic asset. This aligns perfectly with the client's objectives. They want you to do this. They want you to help them grow and solve their problems. That's why they're buying your product from you. You are just helping them do it in a way that is different than every other sales team that has walked in the door. A detailed customer journey map coupled with touchpoint analysis elevates your strategy from transactional to transformational. It equips your sales team with the tools they need to deeply understand the client's business. So I would like to talk a little bit. Hopefully you enjoyed that 8-9 slides that I just did on, and hopefully it was worthwhile. I don't know if there's any questions out there, but Kevin, while you're looking at the questions and getting ready to bug me about the questions, I do want everybody to mark their calendar because Kevin's going to talk next time and I'm going to go sit and watch kids play soccer. We're going to do this on Thursday, October 19th at 10 a.m. Eastern. The CEO workshop that we're going to do is called Avoiding B2B Sales Mistakes That Are Limiting Revenue Growth. So, Kevin, we only have 5 or 6 minutes left. I talked too long, as usual. Any questions out there that I need to address?
There was just a lot of affirmations that they're showing, a lot of great content shared forward, and thinking about what's next. There's a few people going to catch the second half of this on the recorded side, but I think some of the main takeaways were, empowering your sales team as a sales leader to dig into the cast of characters. Who's your coach? Who's a cheerleader? Who are the decision makers, economic buyers, and really relating that to how you're researching and understanding how they're coming to the sales cycle and how we're addressing them. So great insights, great takeaways, and looking forward to next month where we dig into the sales mistakes and specifically RFPs and when not to engage them.
Great. So a little bit about us. So I'm the CEO of New Sales Expert, and for 35 years plus, I was working for other companies and I was helping them grow and helping them all over the world. So I was accumulating miles and hotel points from all my traveling that I did. I decided to stop doing that and focus my efforts at helping SMB companies, which is why I've started the company New Sales Expert, and help companies realize their maximum value. Kevin is the president of Lighthouse Sales Advisors. He's also spent decades selling for other people. And now he spends his time and works on helping companies and execute their B2B sales organizations and become better sales organizations than they ever were. And so we partner together on a regular basis to do these efforts, and we hope that they're valuable to you. And if you like what you heard, if you like what you think this was kind of interesting, we also, every week, we put out a podcast. The podcast is called Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. It's a sales podcast for B2B sales leaders or sales leaders who want to be sales leaders. So we get together for 15 minutes, and it's always 15 minutes. We talk about sales issues. We talk about things that might be happening in the world. And then we give our advice, and we kind of give advice in the short 15 minutes. We try to get done very quickly, and we try not to get lost. But it's very free form in our conversation. So it's a great listen. Tuesday, 4:30 is when we drop it. And if you want to subscribe to it, which we'd love, it's just search for Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Now, you can't just search for two tall guys, because if you do that, you'll find out that there's lots of tall guys out there that have a podcast. You have to do Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, and then you're going to find us. You're going to see that picture of Kevin and I, and so we like you to subscribe to that, and maybe you can learn a little bit on a weekly basis as well. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it off soon, unless there's other questions or comments. I'm just now bringing it up so I can kind of see what those are. Anything else that we should talk about?
There's not another question, but there's a great call out by Corey. Corey, thanks so much for calling that out. Using social listening as a conduit to gaining that customer insight is such a powerful strategy for any new salesperson or a sales leader, making sure your team knows how to effectively mine the data that's commercially available so you can learn more, know more about your clients. Good stuff. And that's a wrap. Thanks again for joining Kevin and Sean on Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Tune in every Tuesday, or when our podcast drops every Tuesday at 4:30, wherever you consume your podcast. And don't miss our monthly CEO workshop, where we unpack some of the big CEO questions facing your business. Until next time, we're looking forward to seeing you. Happy selling.